Hey everyone, welcome to our FanGirl Friday special, where we talk about all things nerdy.
From anime to movies to music galore, we're here to share our thoughts, opinions, and most of all, share our love and passion for all things nerdy.
We hope you enjoy the show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to FanGirl Fridays with Cleo
and Callie.
Today, I'm just so excited about today's episode. Quite honestly, I'm so excited.
It really is.
Because, because there's my Korean there. You see what I did there?
Oh my God.
Oh. Because we're talking about an animation that's so dear to my heart and I love it so much. Fruits Basket by Takaya Natsuki. Excuse me if I butcher that name, I'm so sorry, but it is such a beautiful animation. Not only is the anime gorgeous, but the story and the messages, and it'll leave you crying every single episode because, oh my God, what this character, what the author does to these characters. Don't you laugh at my English. What? I'm only an English teacher.
I feel like we need a soundboard. That's next project. We have to incorporate a soundboard.
We do. We have to incorporate. Oh my gosh. I hate the Wi-Fi sometimes. I was like, oh no. But anyway, yes, we're talking about Fruits Basket today, and I'm super excited. These characters are amazing. Their character development is gorgeous. Pause. Okay, so yeah. Soundboarding, yes, we need that in the future project. It was technical difficulties. I'm gonna need to do a lot of editing on this, aren't I? But anywho, yes, super excited of this series because it's just such a beautiful thing. Like there's a manga in place. There's also 2 versions of the animation, right? So the original animation, actually, for those of you who don't know, let me tell you what the damn thing is about. So sorry, I just get super excited. So she's laughing at me so much right now. Okay, so Fruits Basket is about Hush You. It's about this young girl. Her name is Toru Honda, and she's a freshman in high school. And unfortunately, as you find out very, very quickly, her mother had just recently passed away, and she decided to pitch a tent in the woods to live there while she works to support herself during high school. And her father passed away when she was a kid. We don't know much about him until later in the episode. But that's how she's taking care of herself because her only other like kind of living relatives, like her grandfather and her aunt and cousins, they're kind of living together right now and didn't have room for her. So she's like, I'm fine, I can do it. And she lives in a tent in the middle of the woods as a very self-sufficient girl. And let me tell you, when I first saw this anime years ago, like the original one came out in like 2001, I could not stand this character. I could not stand Toru. I thought she was just a plain Jane Mary Sue, just very redundant. And like disclaimer, in the original anime from 2001, she didn't really have much depth. Her character was kind of very plain, very sweet, just kind of boring. But in the newer version that just came out in 2019, it's still coming out with new episodes every Monday. The last and final season 3, they gave her so much more depth. They made her so much more realistic. They're diving more into the trauma. Like before, it's like, oh my God, my mom died, which is sad. But now they're actually giving the psychosis, the psychology behind how it's affecting her, the reason why she's behaving the way she's doing, the reason why she's being overly kind. It dives so much more into it. And even though she's living in a tent. She has these really awesome friends who are pretty much the oddballs of the school. Like one's a quote unquote a Yankee, which is another term for like little gangster. And the other one, she has like this sixth sense for like waves, and people are afraid of her because she's like the weird witchy girl that not an actual witch, but people judge her for that, for the way she looks, because she's always in black. And then there's this popular student at her school called Yuki Soma. Everyone adores him because, oh my God, he's so handsome and he has a fan club, whatever. And she stumbles upon his house. He also lives in the woods with his older cousin, Shigure, and their family has a secret. And their secret is, you learn very quickly, they're cursed by the animals of the Chinese zodiac. So when they are hugged, bam, bam, bam. And when they're hugged by a member of the opposite gender, they will turn into these animal. For example, there's one character, he's born in the year of the dog. He was possessed by the dog spirit. One character born in the year of the rat, he's possessed by the rat spirit. But there's a 13th character. He is cursed by a cat, and everyone hates him for reasons you will find out. But I love him. He is my favorite character, Diro Kiyosoma. The poor author put him through so much freaking trauma. Like the original, it was just light and it was still bad, but it was okay. I'm like, oh, he's just an angsty teenager who happens to have like some other issues going on. But in this new freaking anime, yo, they put him through so much. My heart goes out to this character. I was crying. Like in the most recent episode, they revealed the connection that he has to another character, and it was so messed up. I had to pause it several times because I was not ready. And what I love so much about this show, that's why I'm highly encouraging you to watch it, is that it's not just one of those feel good anime is like positive energy and messages, whatever, sippy sappy. It actually dives into like these characters experience abuse mentally, physically, emotional abuse, and you see how it's affected them. You see how it affects their daily life and their interactions with one another and outside people outside of the family. But as the story goes on, you start to see their characters develop. You see them change. You also physically see them change. Like Callie, also, I know you watch anime, but like, correct me if I'm wrong. In most other anime, you don't see the characters grow up. Am I right?
Yeah, like a lot of the time they kind of stay the same unless it does that whole like OVA transition thing, or like, you have a whole different set, like kind of how Inuyasha has its thing, and now they have Yashahime way back in the future. Yeah, most times you don't see like that transition of a character from like season one all the way to the end, and they're like a completely different character.
Yeah, no, but in Fruits Basket, yo, when the very beginning, they have like the little baby faces, but as the series goes on, you actually see the art style change and they grow up. Like they go from like baby face, like freshmen in high school, to like when they get to second, third year, their actual drawing style gets more sharper, and you can see the shoulders getting broader for the boys. You see their faces getting more mature, and it's just absolutely freaking amazing. And yo, let me tell you about the glow ups. There's this one character, yo, Momiji. I love this character so much. Momiji's like he's a year of the rabbit. He's a really bubbly, very sweet, and he also has a really messed up home situation to the point where you want to cry and just hug him and be like, oh my baby, come here. Like, he is half Japanese and half German, if I'm not mistaken. And his background is just so sad, but he still pushes to keep himself very happy and bubbly and loving. He goes from like being basically gender fluid in the sense of, or no, what's the terminology? Where he doesn't care what type of clothing he wears, whether it's like a skirt or a dressy top. Androgynous. Yes. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Wrong terminology. And he's very androgynous in his appearance. So, but because he's so little, like he was very short and cute, he got away with being androgynous in his style because people were like, oh my God, he's so cute, his little face. But he gets a glow up where he actually gets tall. He gets like actually more mature, gets more of a manly figure to him. And I'm just like, when did this happen? He went from the little baby to oomph, like the baby. And it's to yeah, like he has like one of the biggest glow ups in this series, and it's crazy because they didn't do that in the original. So you're seeing so much more depth, so much more maturity from these characters, not only him, but like the little babies. Like you see like two other characters who are elementary school, you see them grow up and they're in middle school, and you're just like, oh, you're getting older. And you can see it in their art too, and their clothing style changes. Like they don't just wear uniforms every day, they actually wear regular clothing, and you see that change too. And it's just, oh my gosh. Anyway, sorry. As you can tell, I love this series. Like, what have you heard about it? Like, have you seen any of the episodes? Read any of the manga? Like, what are your thoughts on this series as I'm geeking out?
So, way back once upon a time in undergrad, one of my best friends at the time absolutely loved Fruits Baskets too. And she's the one that turned me on to it, where she's like, hey, this show is amazing. And I'm like, "Hmm, okay." I'd heard about it back in high school and I never really understood what it was about. I just knew it had to do with the Chinese zodiac and this really cute girl that they kind of all surround. Like, I actually thought it was a harem manga slash anime. But I knew it was more like love centered, or I forgot what it's called, shojo, shonen, yeah, shojo, yeah. And so I was kind of like, it's a little cutesy for me, but I'll watch it because I care about you and it's something that you enjoy. So I sat down with her and I watched maybe like a few episodes and I was like, wow, this is actually pretty great. Like, I didn't realize how much emotion it would invoke from me. I only watched like maybe 4 or 5 episodes, but I was so enamored with the storytelling and Toru specifically. I had that was back when I didn't like female characters that were too nice or too demure or quiet. And I always considered her to be like, I wanted her to be more assertive in herself. She used to let so many people walk all over her and take advantage of her, and she would hide when she was sad. And it bothered me a lot because I saw a lot of myself in her, and it really like rubbed me the wrong way at the time. But I also felt strangely protective of that character when watching the show. So now that you're describing this reboot as being much more in depth with the storytelling and like the character development and even just the psychological aspect, because that's right up my alley. I'm really interested in watching this show just so I can talk with you about it and I can chime in. I might even bring it up to my friend again. We're still pretty close. So I think I wouldn't be surprised if she's watched the reboot too. So it'll bring us more something to talk about.
Yes, 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 yes. You have to. I'm encouraging y'all to do it, and I'm encouraging Callie to do it too because yeah, like and that you touched on something really, really big that I really need to jump on before I forget is just you see yourself in this character, and I think that's why I didn't like her in the beginning either because I was in the biggest denial back then. But now that I reflect back, it's like I kind of was Toru. I let people walk all over me. I let people be mean to me. I let the bullies bully me because I was a people pleaser. I didn't want to be hated. I just wanted to be nice to everyone and hopefully they would be nice to me back. And that just wasn't really how it worked, you know? So I saw myself in Toru so much that that's why I hated her in the beginning. But now that I'm watching it again as I'm older and more mature, I am in love with Toru's character and I don't see annoyance. I see strength because she has been through so much at such a young age and she is doing the best that she can, even trying to maintain seeing the goodness in people despite how they treat her. And obviously that can be like a double-edged sword because they're like she does lack boundaries. she doesn't know how to establish those boundaries. But the thing that I love most about this new reboot is that they actually give her that depth of, you understand why she doesn't have these
Oh.
boundaries. You understand why that she actually adopted this behavior. She trained herself as a child to have this behavior, actively trained herself as a child. And that's what's so mind-blowing, that she had the cognizant awareness as like a 6-year-old to train herself to behave a certain way in order to get certain results. And I don't want to spoil it for anyone else who's going to be watching, but let me tell you, it's like, once you start learning about these backstories and like just going more deep into it, like I haven't read the manga in a long time, but from like they changed the anime a little bit, like the sequencing of it to make it flow better for the animation. But let me tell you, like the way they've done it is so seamless. I don't know if y'all can hear this motorcycle in the background. Rude. But the way they've done it was just so seamless and so beautifully done, that a chance to understand and actually bond and connect with these characters more in depth. And even with the main character, like one of the main characters, the main like antagonist, Akito, this particular character, there's so much like your instinct is like, I freaking hate this character. Like I've always disliked Akito. And you'll see why almost immediately, because Akito was like the epitome of a toxic, manipulative character. And they just, I'm just going to refer to them as they just tend to just, they're so psychologically disturbed. They don't even see what they're doing wrong. And it's just so bad. And they allude to how bad this character actually treated the other characters that they didn't even touch upon in the original. So trigger warning, there are allusions to rape and sexual assault, and there are scenes of like physical abuse of like a character being pushed out a window and stuff like that due to jealousy. But they do it in a tasteful way. It's not as bad as killing, stalking that we talked about in a different episode. Fruits Basket actually discusses these situations in a very they touch upon it in a way that's not openly graphic, but they allude to it enough to the point where it leads a lot to think about and to talk about, if that makes any sense. They do it in a very tasteful way that isn't too damaging, I guess, to someone who's very sensitive to these topics, but they make it also realistic in a way of how these characters are reacting to the trauma they've been through, the psychological trauma. Like one character was locked in a room when he was like 6 years old by this other character, and every day he was emotionally abused, he was verbally abused, told him he was nothing, no one would ever love him, he was just a freak, and no one will accept him as who he is because of what he turns into when someone hugs him. And he accidentally got revealed from another little girl who accidentally fell on him, and he transformed, and they had to erase all the memories or suppress the memories of all those kids, and he had no friends anymore because of that situation. And this person was actively targeting him, saying, well, no one's going to love you because you're a freak because of this and that. And he's grown so inwardly shut off that the psychology behind it is like he purposely lives in a dirty space because his parents also pressured him, you have to be perfect, you have to do everything right, you are the star child, you are this, that, and a third. So his environment, he's like, I can't stand perfection because that's what I was forced to try and do. And that is just genius to me, where they're taking these psychological traumas of these characters and actively ensuring that they demonstrate that in the animation by showing their living space, by showing how they interact with other characters, by showing how they speak, how they carry themselves. And you don't really see that much in a lot of anime. Sometimes it's just action based, but this one, that like they really did their research on how people are affected by their childhood, how people are affected by how other people treat them. So that's why this is just the most in-depth and amazing anime ever. And I'm like dying inside every week, having to wait for these final episodes because it's coming to a close. And each episode is tying up each character's backstory so nicely because it's the final season. And I'm watching I prefer the subbed because I feel like it's more authentic, but they actually done very, very good with the dubbed. They brought back all the original voice actors. From my knowledge, they brought back all the originals and
wow.
they reprised their roles and they're still amazing at it. And it's just so emotion evoking and just thought provoking. And oh my gosh, as you can tell, it's just amazing. Even little details like in the original. My last point, I'm sorry, I'm going on a total nerd rant right now.
Well,
And
FanGirl Friday.
oh my God, yes. Like this is just from an animation perspective, because as being an artist, I like fangirl hard over animation stuff. But like in the original animation, there was a scene where Cleo, he's the cat, he has orange hair, you'll recognize him. He was making a rice ball in the kitchen. So he took out the rice, he scooped it up, threw it around in his hands, went to the other room, sat down, and he just ate it. Right? He just sat there and he ate it like normal, simple, clean animation. Fine. But in the new animation, tell me how they outdid themselves. He scooped up the rice ball, he made it in his hands, interacted with the character, kind of like he did in the other one. But not only did he walk back to the other room, the living room, he sat down, he grabbed the remote control, he turned on the TV, pointed to the TV, turned it on, the television came on. You can see what was on the television. He put the remote down and he was actively watching the television and eating his rice ball, interacting with the environment. They took extra steps to make this series look more realistic so you can fall even more in love with the characters and build more of a bond because of all the freaking realism of the animation. What are your thoughts?
I've said this once and I'll say it again. I wish you guys could see Cleo when she gets so into what she's talking about because she just absolutely glows and it's just like this light it just emanates from her and it's just so cute. I love watching it. Like I just want her to keep going. But I will say that I appreciate when artists are able to take their characters and actively involve them in their environment so that the audience can become more immersed. Because I think that's one of my watching anime for me is a form of escapism. I enjoy stepping into the shoes of these fictional characters and kind of living life vicariously through them. So the more immersive the scene is, the more realistic the storytelling, the more engaging the overall story is to me, the more appealing it is. And I you had my curiosity. Now you got my attention. So with that said, my dear, how can those of us who wish to watch this show view it?
So you can watch it on a variety of platforms. It is available on Hulu. I think season 1 and season 2. You can also watch it on Funimation. And you can also Google episodes if you want to do that. But you can find it on the variety of platforms, search Fruits Basket, final seasons. If you haven't seen either the beginning season or like the original series or the newer series, I would say watch the new series first before going back to the original, because I think it would be great for you to learn about all of the secrets and the in-depthness of the series first, instead of only getting a touch of it. Because I feel like the newer version reveals them in a much more dramatic and like, oh my gosh type way that will have you screaming at the screen. And then you can go back and watch the other one. This one's more kind of like serious, but also cute and life-changing. And the other one's just kind of cute and fluffy. So definitely the new season first, which started in 2019. The original one was 2001. So yeah, you can watch on a variety of platforms: Google, Funimation, Hulu, many different things. So I would watch it there. And to close us out on a really fun note, I would like to show you how kind of really in-depth and mind-blowing it is, and just how it teaches you life lessons. It's really helped me out of some dark times as I've been rewatching it and been struggling a little bit. This is my go-to anime when I need that boost of like, there's hope in life. Keep going. So I'm going to end this on a quote from the series, and it is: "It would be so great if it were possible to go through life without making a single mistake, but there is no such path. Falling, tripping, losing the way, making mistakes little by little, walking one step at a time. This is the only way."
I love that.
Mhm.
That makes me feel good.
So on that note, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this episode and my ranting about Fruits Basket. Watch it. You have to watch it. I would totally love it if you watched at least the first episode. I challenge you, watch at least the first episode or 2 or 3 and give us a comment and let us know what you think. But we always love to hear from you. Like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode. This is Cleo.
And this is Callie.
Goodbye.